All right, welcome into the Hoisty Kellers podcast. Getting a little bit of a late start tonight because of some computer issues. Breaking, they were not Jonathan Wagner's. I'm saying this because probably my computer is going to break next. I'm Stephen Igo. I'm joined by Jonathan Wagner and Scott Lorbatcher, who had the world's longest Google Chrome computer restart. Scott, as wait, oh, you were frozen for a second, Scott, but I think
I may
I
or may
think
not still be frozen. This is a fiasco over here.
Don't worry,
well,
I'm lagging too.
yeah, maybe it's on my end. Who knows? Maybe we can just pull a North Carolina and call it. Just wrap up shop now. Call it a tie.
It's a tie podcast.
Yeah, tie podcast. What a way for what a way for the Pirates and Tar Heels to finish this series. Not really. As Scott, if you're watching our YouTube feed, Don's a tie. And full disclosure, he asked me last night in the group chat, he was like, should we all wear a tie on Monday? And I was like, is this a reference to something? And I am blonde for a reason. So it flew right over my head. All right, gentlemen, I guess let's just dive right into it since we're running a few minutes behind. As always, you can find us every Monday night, 9 p.m. live on YouTube, Facebook, and X. Also, check us out, podcast, Spotify, everywhere you get your pods. And make sure to like and subscribe because, A, we don't say that enough. And B, it means a lot to the podcast, helps us out. Also, if you really want to help the fellas out, Wags and Scott, leave a super chat. You can go to YouTube, go to our live comments feed. There is a little $ there. You can drop a super chat in the chat for some financial help for these gentlemen. Not that they're like going broke or anything, but Wags does need a new computer, and Scott may need one.
Really.
I'm not far behind.
All right, ECU, what a week it was. 2-2-1, just like we all predicted. Pirates split the midweek, which none of us predicted. Losing to Campbell, shocker. We're all idiots for not picking that one. Beat Northern Illinois. And then, quite honestly, one of the more disappointing nights I can remember in Clark LeClaire in years. On Friday night, the world's coming to an end. ECU baseball is horrific. They're not going to win any games, et cetera, et cetera. And then they bounce back Saturday. Throw a punch in North Carolina. Grady Linehan, Sean Jenkins were phenomenal. Win 10-3 in Durham. Series shift to Chapel Hill. Sunday, we questioned whether they would get the game in or not. They did start it, and they played 5 innings, so they got the game in before it was banged and ended in a 3-3 tie that both head coaches agreed to. So we'll go overall takes around the horn here. Then we'll give our weekly overreaction take following that. We'll start with Wags. Your thoughts on a 2-1 week for the Pirates?
Yeah, I think we really saw kind of everything, all ends of the spectrum this week. It started off on Tuesday, and it was what we've come to expect out of Campbell games, even though we didn't predict ECU to lose that game last week. I went with my gut that said they win, and then they come out and they played like crap offensively. They pitched pretty well, but they lose. They bounce back on Wednesday, and then, like you said, Friday was just, I think, an all-time bad performance at home against UNC to start the series, and you kind of think, great, we're probably not going to win a game this weekend. It's going to be a 1-in-4 week, and then it's really going to be rock bottom, and who knows how you recover from that. You probably can't. So then they come back on Saturday in Durham. Great crowd, great atmosphere, great weather, by the way. And, I mean, shocked me. I think shocked all of us to an extent. But it was the Grady Linehan show, and he put on a heck of a show, and he carried ECU to a win. Everyone played pretty well for ECU. You got Matt Lashley back in the starting lineup, so that was huge. And then Sunday, I think another game where you start off pretty good, and you think, okay, maybe yesterday wasn't just a fluke. Like, this ECU team might be good. But then you kind of gave up the lead there in the 6th right before the rain delay. And I think I might disagree with some people, but I don't know if that's a bad thing because given the state of ECU's bullpen and the lack of trusted guys that were left compared to UNC's, I don't think ECU wins that game if it continues. So I wasn't upset with it, but at the same time, ties suck. You want to win, you want to play. And at the same time, I wanted to kind of see some other guys step up and see who that bullpen is made of. But yeah, you really went through all the emotions this week. But I come out of it feeling good, really good, actually. And I think this team showed that last week may have been the fluke, starting 1-2. And I think this team, well, maybe it still has a long ways to go to get to where maybe we expected it to, it's still pretty good. And I think there's a lot of positives to come off of.
Pirates sit at 3-4-1 on the season after the 2-2-1 week, guys. That record is going to drive me crazy with it happening this early in the year, too. I'm going to have to reference it at least 50 more times. It's going to drive me nuts, and you guys as well. But, Scott, your take on the week?
Yeah, I'm devastated that I'm going to have to put that extra -1 on every weekend opponent update because it's UNC's on there, and then every time we mention our record, we have a tie on there. It couldn't at least happen in conference play, like halfway through or something like that. But for me and Wags both, I think it was a perfectly split week. I was at the Tuesday night game at Campbell, which as frustrating as that Friday night game against UNC was, that Campbell game was pretty equally frustrating. Obviously UNC is an incredible team. They're an Omaha caliber team. So, even losing to them, you can still have some hope going forward. But that Campbell game was just super frustrating. The bats just couldn't get it going. Pitched incredibly well. I texted one of my buddies that that's the first time I've ever been to a game where a team had 0 earned runs and lost. And I don't know if I'll ever see that again. And then that Saturday game in Durham, it's just an incredible environment. And I would love to see, when you look around the country this weekend, there's a ton of these multi-team events. I think Durham is perfectly capable of hosting a, Virginia, Carolinas type tournament there with, some of the better schools in the ACC, the SEC, ECU, and then obviously the great mid-major programs that are around here. But seeing ECU fight back gave me a ton of hope, and I think it's clear that I was hesitant to say that this would be the case, but it does look like Matt Lashley is the key to getting this team going by playing great defense up the middle and kind of letting them play looser all around him. And he provided some offense with his bat as well, which I think was a pleasant surprise to all of us because we thought it was just maybe Nick Parham with a better glove, and it seemed that he maybe has even better bat skills than that.
I should add, by the way, that if you are tuned in, we got a lot of comments already, but continue to drop those in. We'll answer them as we can throughout the show. We'll get to some of those after our overreaction take. And I just want to give a major kudos to the ECU fans. I was thinking about making my overreaction take. ECU has the best baseball fans in the country, and they're certainly up there. And maybe it's not even an overreaction. I mean, we see it every year, and I thought the turnout on Saturday, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people had tickets and were going to go regardless, but there were a lot of people that I talked to in the Greenville game that were just dejected, did not want to go to Saturday's game, ended up going, seeing them there, and the mood was night and day. But I just thought Pirate fans, man, showed out, made a ton of noise. I mean, what do you think, guys? Y'all are both there. I said 65% ECU fans, but it sounded, Cliff Godwin said 90%. It probably sounded that way. But you think 65-ish sounds about right, ECU fans?
Yeah. Well, actually, walking up when I was arriving, there was a lot more Carolina blue. And I was like, man, they actually, showed out this year. And then you get in there, and early on, it was, I think, a little earlier, more leaning towards Carolina. But, by the time the game started, ECU fans were there, and ECU fans were louder. And I agree. It was probably 60, 65, but Cliff's not wrong when he said it sounded like about 90 because that's really how it was.
And, look, North Carolina, they got a great program. I understand they've got college basketball going on, obviously elite in that. But you're talking about a program in Carolina that's gone to Omaha, 10, 11, 12 times, and ECU still searching for that first one. But, I don't know, it just makes you proud to see ECU fans show out like that and be that loud and boisterous. the double run squeeze, 2-run RBI squeeze, like the crowd pop on that and the crowd pop on Linehan's bomb, man, it was a special environment to be a part of. So kudos to everybody there, and obviously hope we see more of that in Clark LeClaire, but it was still in front of ECU fans, which I hope is a nice step in the right direction for ECU. All right, guys, overreaction take time. Let's get to it. Who wants to go first?
I'm ready.
All right, and just to preface this before you get started, we're doing this weekly. It's supposed to be an overreaction take for a reason. It could be positive, it could be negative. And we're going to do this every week, no matter how silly it gets. Go, Wax.
Yeah, I know everyone here is going to be surprised that I'm going positive. But if you follow me on Twitter, I've alluded to this already. I've actually given you the overreaction. But Grady Linehan, by the time he leaves college, by the time he leaves ECU, will be a first-round draft pick. Because, man, he has all the tools. We saw the power. We see the contact. He obviously has a speed. He might be one of the fastest, if not the fastest player ECU's ever had, and just pure straightaway speed. And, we haven't really seen his arm that much in center field, but fielding-wise, he's been good in center. So he really does everything. He steals bases when he gets on. So Grady Linehan, that moment to come through with that 3-run bomb over that big old wall in Durham in that spot with a tie game where the guys I was sitting with, we were saying, okay, this game is probably, with McDuffie and Jenkins, it's probably whoever gets those guys out of the game first will win because neither of them are going to give up a run. And then, here comes Grady Linehan, and I don't remember if that's who he hit off the bomb off of, but, it was his runs at the least. So Grady Linehan is the real deal. He is a legit top 3 or 4 hitter, in this lineup. I love him in the 3-hole. I love him in the 4-hole. I love him in the 2-hole. And I think there's a spot where you could put him lead off and burst too. So Linehan has all the tools, and he's a true freshman. And everything Cliff Godwin said this morning in your interview with him just made me think he's made up the right way. He wants to get better. He wants to do things the right way. And I think he's a perfect fit for this type of team and what we need. So Grady Linehan will be a first-round pick when he leaves ECU.
All right, strong take, but I could see – really, you look at him and Weber, it would not be a shock if both those guys are high draft picks in a couple years. Weber is all skin and bones, and he's out there throwing 92 to 96. Like, when he puts some meat on, man, he's going to be throwing 98 to 100, in my opinion. All right, Scott, your overreaction take from week 2.
Yeah, shout out to Weber. It's grilling season. Got on this random purple Weber grill shirt.
It's a sick shirt.
But yeah, my overreaction is that this pitching staff, and it's not even close to its ceiling, is the most complete pitching staff that we've had in the Cliff Godwin era. And that's with Norby not looking great. And I think a second overreaction could easily be that throw Norby in the bullpen and let Jenkins start. But I'll stick with the positive and say that this pitching staff, once it gets settled in, will be the best pitching staff we've ever had. If you look at Sundays, you have Weber. He's still coming into his own. Only 2 strikeouts yesterday. But North Carolina did an incredible job really all weekend of fouling pitches off and running pitch counts up. The teams in the American aren't touching it the way that UNC is. Van Kempen was incredible in Durham. And then to back him up with Jenkins, if you can get Norby back right, where he's giving you 7 innings on Friday, you can have Towers, who's been really good in the first innings, and I think maybe he's just a 1 inning at a time guy going forward. And Tolik is going to be great on Tuesdays. Nick Moran's been great. Ethan Rose looked really good, and even Gavin Marley. I know there was probably some frustration on that Sunday game for him, but he pitched great earlier in the week as well. We threw 14 guys this week, and I would say for the most part, outside of Norby, they all had at least spots where they did really, really well. And this is the type of pitching staff, in the past we've had the staff that could win a super regional. With 2 guys on Friday and Saturday. This is a staff that is going to give you more success in regionals and will allow you to have an opportunity that if you don't win, both the first 2 games, you can still win the 3rd game in a super regional. So if the bats can come through like they did against Northern Illinois and on Saturday, this pitching staff can carry you to Omaha.
No doubt. I mean, I agree. I think it's one of those things we haven't even seen near the best. We'll get into the bullpen later, but Joe Webb, I think at some point they're going to need him to turn it around. And I think Towers, Saccone, and Tolik, like those guys' best baseball is only in front of them, and obviously Norby as well. My overreaction take, and Scott kind of hit on it earlier, but it just goes back to Matt Lashley, this guy who is a glove first, unheralded recruit, junior college shortstop, maybe out of necessity. Look, he's only played 3 games, but to me, guys, he's the most important player in the lineup. Like he's at this point, and look, it's 3 games, which is why it's an overreaction, but you could just see the difference, the calm in the box, and he had an approach. Is he going to go out there and hit 350 or even anything near that with a bunch of doubles? No, but like he showed the ability to put the bat on the ball. He showed the ability to get the bunt down. He's still not 100%, but he played a clean shortstop. For me, Matt Lashley is right now the team's most important player. And JPN asked, is it Lashley or Walker Barron? I went back and forth in my overreaction take. I was going to go either Lashley or Barron, but I don't think it's a coincidence, guys, that neither of those players were in the lineup for the 10-0 loss to North Carolina. And you look at all 3 of the games ECU played well in this week, Walker Barron was behind the plate. So for me, and Lashley obviously played the final 2, those 2 guys, but especially Lashley, he kind of brings everybody together because obviously you can keep Colby at 3rd, whether it's Hakame or Burst at 2nd. I think that's your best infield alignment with Irby at first base. So got to find a way to keep him healthy, and I think it can really allow ECU to take off. So training staff's going to have to put the work in, but Matt Lashley, for right now, for me, the most important player. When I see the lineup card, guys, I'm gonna make sure Matt Lashley's in that shortstop spot. First thing I jump to every game day from this point forward. All right, let's hit on. We did have a take here before I move on to the, Jenkins discussion and Norby. I was expecting somebody to say Sean Jenkins was going to win the Golden Spikes Award as our overreaction, but we can get to that here in a minute. Somebody did say that Carolina turnout on Sunday was weak in the chat. I mean, none of us were there. Brian Wallace saying the showing of UNC fans Sunday was weak. In-state game, your team was top 10. I don't think it was half full. The weather looked pretty miserable, so I don't know.
Anyway, we were going to go, and then it just, we have 2 small kids, so it was just like there's no chance that they would enjoy being out there, and then it's just fighting kids for 3 hours. And did miss out on the Boshemer Bojangles, which is always a hit.
That place is on point. The one Bojangles that's still on point, guaranteed every time, is in Boshemer Stadium. So, yeah, I just wanted to share that comment. All right, Dan gave his overreaction take. Flip rolls for Norby and Jenkins. Also, shout out to A-Win in Florida. $5 super chat. Sounds like Sean Jenkins wants to be in the bullpen. He did say after Saturday's game that he absolutely loves it. So, look, I think it's too early to have this discussion, quite honestly, but we do an hour-long podcast. Norby, if he has another subpar start or 2, maybe I'll feel different. I can see maybe the argument, but look, Jenkins is thriving in this role. The last thing you want to do is move him. Norby, for me, it's not like he looks bad, guys. Like he got, I believe, 7 strikeouts on Friday.
Yeah, it's 7 strikeouts, but he hit 2 and walked 1.
Yeah. So, like, to me, the swing and miss stuff is still there. Now, the command, and Cliff Galvin's talked about this, command to the glove side fastball. So, basically, when he's trying to pitch into righties and pitch away from lefties, it's either getting away, hitting guys, or leaking out of the plate. So, to me, his secondary stuff looks sharp. I think once he locks in the fastball command, it all clicks. So, I think it's too early. Obviously, I'm willing to listen to you guys. Wags, your take on Jenkins and Norby as well.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. I think Sean Jenkins last year, I think he kind of got in his head too much when he was starting, and he looked better out of the bullpen last year. And, for a guy like that, I just think it's valuable to not have to sit there and think. If he's going to be your, say, Saturday starter, then he's going to be in the dugout all Friday, knowing he's not pitching. And then all day Saturday leading up to the game, he's just, preparing himself to start. And yes, I do think Sean Jenkins could do it if we put him in the role with how he's pitching right now. But like you said, I just think it's a risk to take him out of a role he's thriving in currently. And it's just you have to be different to come out of the bullpen and just not know when you're going to come in and just always be ready. And I think with what we've seen from Sean Jenkins, that's the role that best suits him. And I think that's where he knows it suits him well as well. So yeah, Norby, he's going to figure it out. My thing is, against Xavier, sorry, um, against Xavier, it was a lot of, free 90s, like Cliff said, and it was a lot of just, some not crazy well hit balls, just finding the holes and getting through. And that's how the trouble started. And then this weekend, yeah, Carolina's a good team. I know, the casual fan, I don't even know. I didn't know anybody in that lineup outside of Gavin Gallagher before this weekend. And, they still have some real good talent. So Norby's going to figure it out. I'm not hitting the panic button yet. Am I a little concerned? Yes. But I do think once he stops giving up the walks and the hit by pitches, then when he does give up a single that finds the hole, it's not going to hurt you as much. Or when he does leave a fastball over the plate in hard contact, it's a solo homer as opposed to a 2-run homer. And that stuff adds up, and it has in his starts. So Norby's going to be all right. He's going to figure it out. It might be a kind of a slow build to get back to the Ethan Norby we expected. I don't think it's going to happen in 1 week. I don't think he's going to come out on Friday and just go give you 8 innings, 1 hit with 15 strikeouts. I think it's going to take a little bit of progression for him to find himself again. So, but again, Jenkins, he's so valuable in that bullpen. And he's your best bullpen guy. Jenkins is probably your best pitcher right now. So leave him in the role he's thriving in. I just don't see a reason to change it. If it goes on for a couple more weeks and you get into conference play and you still don't have a Friday night starter that's producing for you, then I think you can have the discussion. But for now, Norby's earned a little bit of a longer leash.
All right, Scott, your take on this, and I do think if it gets to the point, if Jenkins is still thriving in the bullpen, you almost like look at another starter if you were to consider this down the line. Let's say Norby would struggle for 2 or 3 more starts. But your take on this?
Yeah, it's kind of ironic that last year at this time we were having the exact opposite conversation about how Norby shouldn't be in the pen because he had pitched so well on the weekends, and we had that was different from what we thought at the beginning of the season. So we'll see how it goes. I mean, we get Rutgers this weekend. They're nowhere near as talented as UNC is, and honestly, Xavier's a good baseball team. They went down to Arkansas and played them close. It's clear when they run out of pitching, they really run out because the Louisville game midweek and the Sunday game in Arkansas kind of got away from them. But that's a tournament caliber team. So we'll see with Rutgers, and then you go down to Conway against a Coastal team that's kind of lost some of their big guys too. So then you get into conference play, and things are very different there as well. So I mean, I think Norby didn't pitch in the fall, right? He got the fall off.
Yeah, he pitched for Team USA deep into the summer, and then basically took the fall off. So I mean, in many ways, he's really just like he's ramping back up, which is why they've been pretty careful with him.
Right before the season, we get hit with snow and ice. That kind of throws it off some too. So it's obviously a frustrating first 2 weeks, but it wouldn't shock me if he comes out and gives you 5, 6 really good innings against Rutgers, and then it's back to being him by the time we get to Coastal. So I think he's going to be fine. The stuff looks really good. He has an extra pitch this year, so hopefully we'll just see him put it all together. But he's just been inaccurate at inopportune times. He's hitting guys on like 1-2 counts. He's about to put somebody away. A pitch gets away from him. Then it's a squibber, and then all of a sudden it's 2 guys on, and he's just not the same pitcher when he's got guys on. I don't think. I think he's at his best with nobody on base.
Yeah, he can use that rhythm to his advantage, and it's one of those things. I mean, look, pitchers go through this. It just when it happens at the beginning of the season, it's much more magnified. I do think he'll be fine. The stuff looks good. I mean, he was up to like 95 for Team USA, but that was in a relief role. So like him being 90 to 92 is probably more where he consistently is going to be as a starter. Otherwise, he'd just flame out once he gets deeper into the game. But I'm with you guys. I give it at least a few more weeks. I mean, he struck out 19 versus Coastal last year. Obviously, that's not a fair expectation when they face him again. But I give him through at least the next 2 weeks, and then if for some reason he's still struggling, then maybe reevaluate it. But I think he'll be all right. I just want to add a little bit more on Sean Jenkins, Player of the Week, Conference American Player of the Week. Just his mentality right now, guys. And it's crazy to believe. Like, you just compare it to last year when he was 17 through half the year. And, like, you knew the stuff was good, but maybe you didn't see the same mentality on the mound. But being at Saturday's game, y'all saw it too, man. He's out there, like, just yelling at the UNC guys, like, sit the F down after striking them out. Like, just being a dog out there. And just looks like a guy that's not afraid of the moment. You're a year older. You're more mature, your body's older, and his stuff right now is it's wicked. Like last year, he just wasn't missing a lot of bats despite throwing hard. And Wags this year, he looks unhittable right now.
Yeah, I mean, the group I was with, we were having the conversation once it got up to, in ECU's beginning when they started scoring runs and adding on to the lead. The question was kind of, do you leave Sean Jenkins out there? Or do you maybe try to save him if you need him for an inning tomorrow and go to someone else with a big lead? And I said, no, you keep him in the game. Why is that? Because you are guaranteed to win if you keep him in. And I don't know if I've ever felt that way with any reliever at ECU. And just with the way he was going, this game's over. As long as we have the lead and Sean Jenkins is in the game, ECU is not going to lose. And it's crazy to think that just with how college baseball is and college baseball pitching and bullpens. But yeah, he just looks like a completely new guy. Like you said, the confidence, the mindset just seems to be completely different. And again, I do think that is partly due to him coming out of the bullpen. You have to be different to come out of the bullpen at this level in that spot. So he looks different. I hope he keeps going, and I think he will. But it's special to see. I mean, what we've witnessed for the first 2 weeks is really awesome, and I'm really happy for Jenkins because he's another dude. He came to East Carolina a year early because he wanted to be here, and it's nice to see it pay off like that for a kid like that.
Sean Jenkins I was just looking through the stat line. It looks like, how economical was he? 56 pitches over 4 2/3, 7 Ks against UNC, 1 hit allowed, 7 swings and misses as well on those 56 pitches. So he was catching guys looking. He was getting the swings and misses as well. Scott, your take on Jenkins, a guy that, again, going into the year, we didn't really know what his role would be. But at this point, it's clear every series in the most intense situation right now, he's going to be on the mound.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible the job he's done to keep guys off balance. I mean, you knew he had a fastball that projected at this level, but his slider and his off-speed stuff this year has been also just fantastic. And it seems like he's able to start guys with off-speed and finish them with the fastball, which is really mature for a guy that's really only 18 years old. But it's awesome to see kind of some of that old school ECU baseball swagger come back. That's felt like it's been missing for the last couple of years. That I know you referred to him as a dog, and it felt like we haven't had dogs on the field for a while. And you got one in Ethan Norby. Kobe Weber kind of showed it a little bit on Sunday too, after some pickoff moves and some barking back and forth. And Austin Irby's got it in him. That's been the thing that has changed my perception of this team from Tuesday night in Bowie's Creek to what I saw Saturday in Durham is I felt like this team has both the bark and the bite to be a team that can compete with anybody at any time. And Sean Jenkins has been a big part of that. I mean, he's pitched great every time he's been in. And it seems like Van Kempen, and maybe they let him stretch it out more as the season goes along, but he's really good 2 times through, and last year he struggled at West Virginia that 3rd time. Well, if he can give you 4 1/3, Jenkins can give you 4 2/3, that's 9 innings, and that's your Saturday, then your bullpen on Sunday is gonna be very fresh.
And I think as Norby goes deeper on Fridays, and it just kind of sets everything up even better. And ideally, you get Webb going as a leverage guy at some point as well, and it just all kind of comes together. Going back to your point, I said this on the show today with Philip Pilkington on 94.3, but it's like I believed Cliff Godwin Friday when he said, don't doubt me or please doubt me because that's when I'm at my best. And he said the same thing about the team, but I was like, I just want to see the team back him because, like you said, I just didn't think they maybe had those dogs in them. But it turns out at least Grady Linehan, Sean Jenkins, we know Burris is one as well, competitive as hell, and some other guys on the team. So it was good to see them back to coach's words up for sure. Cody adding that he was pretty pissed Friday with Cliff not throwing him. It felt like he was giving up the game after going to Joe, who hasn't thrown good yet. But having Sean for Saturday saved us. I'll take the trade. And, Cliff mentioned that after the game. He said we could have thrown Sean out there, kept it close. But I don't think they were touching DeCaro. Maybe DeCaro, guys, is just that good. Wags, you're the UNC fan. So, look, at the end of the day, ECU goes 1-1-1 versus a top 10 team. We haven't really talked that much about the tie. Yeah, it's lame, but is this a resume booster? I mean, it's certainly not a hit, so I think it could be one, right, Wags?
Yeah, it definitely is. And you look at what we faced, like you said, DeCaro is probably a first-round pick when he goes. Ryan Lynch on Sunday, he's a draft-eligible sophomore. So if he goes this year, maybe he doesn't go in the first round, but maybe he comes back, pitches on Friday nights next year, and he has first-round stuff too. So we've faced maybe 2 first-round right-handed pitchers on Friday and Sunday this week and, saw some different results. So it's impressive. But yeah, it is a resume boost. And 1-1-1, it might not be the sexiest thing on a piece of paper, but when you look at how it went, and I think, people will look at how it went. It started off on Friday. You got embarrassed on your home field, but you responded in a neutral field on Saturday, and you dominated. And then Sunday, again, you were right there. I think you were the better team for the majority of the game and before it got called. But to me, it was just you showed that you belong on the same field as North Carolina, who's a ranked number 9 this week. Scott said an Omaha caliber team, which I agree with. And that's with a lot of new faces that's trying to figure it out themselves. So it's impressive. And with, not exactly knowing how the American's going to turn out this year, UTSA looks really good early. They look like a top 25 caliber team already. And we're still kind of trying to figure out who else is going to step up. But having a win and then a tie, a win, a tie, and a loss is better than a win and 2 losses. So I'll take it. And again, to me, it's just not even looking at resume stuff. It's just you showed that you not only belonged in the same field, but you are more than capable of beating that team as well.
Zai adding is a boost for sure. Take the team names out of it. An unranked team beat and tied with the top 10 in the country that we were beating up to the 5th inning. Leland adding, sitting in Clark LeClaire Stadium on Friday. I thought this was one of our worst teams in 15 years. So glad I was wrong. I can't tell you guys how many dejected fans I talked to, and for good reason. I mean, it looked like ECU didn't belong on the same field. It's just crazy the turnaround. Some stats here from Johnny Stats. The Pirates loaded the bases in the 3rd and sent 6 to the plate and only saw a total of 10 pitches. He was also commenting aggressive approach at the plate. The Pirates were very aggressive at the plate on Saturday. They had 12 one-pitch at-bats, resulting in a .533 batting average with 2 doubles, a triple, and 10 total bases. Now, Scott, I'll go to you for this. I talked or asked Cliff basically about Jake Gotro today and kind of that relationship, how it's going. And he said him and Packard pretty much have as much autonomy as any hitting coach he's ever had. Obviously, he has his times he interjects, but he met with them, I think, on Saturday in the hotel or Friday night going into the Saturday game and just said we need to simplify it. Now, I'm sure it was a little more, there were a little more specifics discussed, but whatever they discussed clearly seemed to work, and aggressiveness was a big part of that.
Yeah. Well, first, I'm glad that he was able to give you some information and not just tell you that it was locker room talk. But I do think watching the game against Campbell, we allowed them to get ahead in the count on us a lot. And it seemed like to that point, if teams had guys that could throw first pitch breaking balls over the plate, we were going to take them. That's not the pitch we wanted, whatever it might be. But obviously in Durham, that switched. So I do think that it felt like we were a lot freer with the bat on Saturday and again on Sunday, and not just allowing teams to get ahead on us and then fighting through the count. And it felt like we were really getting off balance and allowing teams to throw backdoor breaking balls over the plate for strike three a lot. Especially Campbell. Campbell just really had us guessing up there. So it was great to see the offensive approach kind of flush itself out.
All right, we got a UNC fan in the chat. Garrett Clements Sports says ECU is always tough. Props to you. UNC always has a time with ECU. He also adds that we'll have a good season. And he says, is the dude on the bottom tired or fried out of his gourd?
Tired.
So what happens when you have kids, Garrett Clemens Sports? I am also tired. I'm not fried out of my gourd. Wags, are you fried out of your gourd?
I don't have kids, and I'm also tired, but I'm also not fried. So
Look,
my computer might be though.
Yeah, we're here for the people. 9 p.m. It's tired people, but hey, we're feeling it, and we're talking Pirate sports. But appreciate it. Always good to get some people tuned in. By the way, we got Bernard Weber tuned in. I'm going to guess that this is somebody related to Colby Weber.
I like the profile pic.
Yeah, sick profile pic, and Colby is doing a fantastic job through 2 starts for the Pirates. All right, any other thoughts on the week that was just standout performances? I got a few in mind, but I'll let you guys hit on any that we've missed first. See what you got, Wags. What do you think?
Yeah, I think one of my biggest questions coming in, and really on Friday, I think we had the conversation in the chat where you have your top 4 in the lineup. You have Braden Burris, Austin Irby, Grady Linehan, Jack Herring in whatever order, but that's really all you have, at least that's producing hitting wise. And I think that this week, a couple of those bats got hot. Colby Wallace, he's a guy that I think we need. And again, if you just go read the box scores, how many hits he had, you probably would think he still wasn't that great, but he hit a lot of balls hard this week. So that was nice to see. But the biggest standout to me was Jack Vogely. And I think, he didn't even start, I think, 2 of the games this week. But he came through. He was 4 for 12, so he hit 333. He had 2 doubles. He was hit 2 times. And he drove in 5 runs. So if you can have Jack Vogely develop into a consistent producer, in the middle of your order, probably in the 5 hole, maybe the 6 hole, then I think that's huge because you have to get Austin Irby going somehow. And I don't know if you can get Austin Irby going if you only have 4 guys in your lineup going, because then it's easier. Austin Irby has gotten pitched around so much, and even when he hasn't gotten pitched around, it may have been a de facto pitch around with walking him anyways or hit by pitch. So Austin Irby has struggled out of the gate. I think that's a big part of it. So getting Jack Vogely, Colby Wallace, or even a Matt Lashley, like you said, his bat looked good. Someone or 2 guys getting going in that 5 and 6 hole consistently, I think will not only lengthen a lineup, but it'll add strength to the top of your lineup, which has already been pretty good without one of your top guys going. So Jack Vogely, he stood out to me. He looked like he belonged, and he hit at this level. So I think there's some power in that bat too that we haven't seen. So Jack Vogely, big standout. Colby Wallace started to look like Colby Wallace again. So those were the two for me.
Yeah, big shout out, by the way. Colby Wallace's father came over, introduced himself after Friday's game. Super nice guy. So that was cool. I was just talking to some fan. He was very, very cool to talk with. And then Vogely, huge 2-out RBI hit. Obviously, it didn't result in ECU winning the game, but resulted in the tie. So that was a clutch moment for him. Just got to learn how to run, run to first base. All right, Scott, any big takeaways for you coming out of the week?
Yeah, I have a couple quick hitters. I'll go with Austin Irby's defense has been great especially this week, but the whole year. Grady Linehan and Braden Burris on 8-game on base streaks to start the season. And then I thought Walker Barron played really well on Saturday defensively. A lot of slow rollers out in front of the plate that he got to, made some tough plays. And then just one final kind of bigger thing is I'm just so glad college baseball isn't going the way that the rest of college sports are, where these major conference teams are so scared to play just in-state opponents or group of 5 mid-major type schools. You look around the country and Xavier's at Arkansas, UNC and ECU are playing, Coastal's playing a bunch of major programs as well. I think UTSA plays like Texas or somebody like that. So in this series overall, it is such a great experience for both UNC and ECU fans. I know the Sunday game was kind of a volatile interaction at the end of it, but for the most part, it is a great series. I don't think I heard a World Series comment all day Sunday or Saturday. I definitely saw some on Sunday, but it's just a great thing for college baseball, and I'm really glad that we continue to have these types of series. I wish maybe some other ACC schools in the state would allow us to play on the weekend. But shout out to UNC for keeping this series going.
100%. Couldn't have said it better. It's one of the best college baseball series in the country, let alone the region. And to me, both teams are going to get better from the series, so why not play it? And I think both teams have been good programs as a result of this series. All right, A1 in Florida said Scott predicted the UNC series had a push on Sunday. Is that true?
Maybe I am fried because I don't remember that at all.
I don't remember that at all. A-Win, shout out to you for another super chat, $4.99. Appreciate your support. I remember I picked UNC to win too. And did anybody pick ECU to win the series?
Yeah,
I
did.
Go ahead, Scott. Yeah.
I picked us to win 2-1. I think I said that we would win Friday and Saturday, and then I think I said if it was gonna get played on Sunday. So maybe that's what they're talking
Gotcha.
about. But,
I do remember that.
I thought Sunday we would have ran out of bullpen guys. It actually kind of worked out the opposite way with the way the Friday game went, where we didn't use really any of our major guys and only had to use Jenkins on Saturday. We still had a loaded bullpen, but UNC obviously had the same situation.
I do want to add that we were robbed of potentially the most epic prediction by Casey O'Malley on Friday's show, who called that ECU would lose Friday, the Pirate Nation would be losing their mind, and then would bounce back and win the next 2 games in the series. And I felt like that was going to happen. I was texting Casey about it. I was like, man, if that happens, we're going to replay that the entire season. So that was a heck of a call, but did not pan out exactly like that. Hoist the Calories in the chat. And they say, proud of Scott for quitting the dip. Did you go to the dip recently, Scott?
Yeah, about 2 decades ago. So way to go me, I guess.
Hey, it still counts. Still counts. A-Win says, I confused Kaysen with Scott. So there you go.
Well, that's fair.
Kaysen did call. Pirates. He did call ECU winning the series for the record. But
Reds fan now. Right? And didn't Kaysen?
He is allegedly trying to be a Reds fan, but I don't think it's going great. It's tough. It's tough to be a Reds fan. Yeah. By the way, Mariners beat the Reds in spring training action the other day. I had something I wanted to say before we got started on that. Oh, yeah. Just looking, guys, like we haven't really talked about him because we expect it. Braden Burris is hitting a cool 500 through 8 games. The man just freaking rakes. And On top of that, he has walked 6 times and gotten hit by 2 pitches. 605 on base percentage, which is just ridiculous. And how about Jack Harry, man? Like, got to be one of the guys who just gets the most out of his ability that I've covered. Like, and this is no disrespect to Jack, but like, the dude just gets in the box and just freaking puts the barrel on the ball and hits. Like there's nothing sexy about it, and he just rakes. Those 2 guys at the top of your order, man, are just going to be a pain in the butt all season long for opponents. So I'd love to see that as well. All right, Brandon Carr is in the chat. Thanks for the show again. Scott, what's the charcoal grill / smoker shirt you got on? Go ahead and explain that. I guess he missed it earlier.
Shout out our guy Weber. You know, it's
Kobe Weber, man.
It was like a $15 find on Amazon. So
yeah, it's a sick shirt.
What's the ECU NIL store? Then we got to get them on, making some cool designs.
It used to be the Team Boneyard store. Now it's just like now nobody does any of that stuff anymore. With it all being in house, I guess we're too lazy. I don't know. All right, Wags. We all know you flipped the picture you shared on the board. Definitely on our side.
Yeah, you can ask anybody I was with. You can ask Kaysen Romeli. You know, he came to my seats after the game. It was close, but I was just barely. I was in section 102, just barely on the right side towards ECU dugout.
It doesn't matter what side you're on. What were you wearing?
I was wearing an ECU hat. It was like a kind of a faded purple with the pirate logo, and then I had a black ECU hoodie on. So. All Pirates, baby.
I'll take you guys behind the curtain. When I cover the games, I try to be as neutral as possible. And, it's just kind of a professionalism thing in the press box when I'm working. So Friday I wore like a dark blue shirt, Interbanks Media, polo. Did not go well. Saturday I'm like, you know what? F it. I'm going purple polo, 24/7 Sports, purple polo. Pirates are rolled. So I may have to wear that again next big game. Josh Thomas wants to find another year of eligibility for Jack Harry, and I'm sure we can do it. Anybody know any good lawyers?
They just need a judge. They don't even need a lawyer.
Yeah, that's true. Just find a judge from Greenville. I might know a guy. Around the American, do we want to hit that? Do we have that ready to go?
I've done no research, but
what everybody did and what they have coming up right here written down.
All right.
Sounds like a Scott segment.
Around the American.
UAB went 3-2. Split weekend 4-game set against Cincinnati at home. 4-0 week for UTSA. Beat UIC on Tuesday. Swept Dallas Baptist. That's a really good series win for them.
Yeah, huge.
Charlotte got smoked by Clemson, and then swept Wright State. Tulane lost at UCLA like everybody does. And then in a battle of the nerds, swept Harvard. Wichita went to Hawaii, lost the first 2 games, and then won the second 2 games. So 2-2 for them.
Took some time to get acclimated.
Yeah, it just takes a little bit of time. They only do 4-game series for whatever reason. I guess it's hard to get to Wichita. USF now 7-1, 5-0 this week. Took 2 from North Dakota State. Swept Georgia Southern, including game 2. They won 29-4. They haven't played a tough schedule, but Mitch Hanna's has obviously done a great job so far there. They get USF this weekend. I think that series travels too.
Wait, USF gets USF this weekend?
UCF. Same thing.
He's clearly fried out of his
fried over here.
Yeah.
Memphis is still Memphis, 0-4. Lost to Little Rock, lost to Ohio State, lost to Louisiana Tech. Rice 1-4 week. They lost to Louisiana, beat Purdue, who I think had a pretty good weekend, and then got swept at Southern Cal, who is undefeated. And FAU, they 2-2 week. They beat Missouri in the midweek, which is a good win, and then lost Friday and Saturday to Iowa before winning the Sunday game. So not a terrible showing all around for the conference. Some good wins in there, and obviously Memphis and who else?
Rice.
UAB Rice, a little bit left to be desired there, but not unexpected.
UTSA 7-0, as you mentioned, with the sweep over DBU. That's after losing their ace in the season opener, by the way. South Florida 7-1, leading the conference, and we'll see more about what they have. UTSA, huge week ahead. They play Ohio State, Coastal, Baylor this coming weekend in Houston, Texas. So we'll see how that goes. They also have upcoming games with Texas Tech, and then they dive into conference play. So I don't know. I think it'd be nice if like UTSA is as much of a pain in the butt they are if they became like a legitimate regional team every year, because then that just gives ECU another chance to pad his resume. I mean, that's not going to hurt you, Wax.
Yeah, I think, just obviously I was at Friday's game and Saturday's game, so I wasn't on social media a whole bunch. But, Sunday, as I kind of catch up a little bit, and, obviously I follow a lot of college baseball guys, and my For You page is full of that this time of the year. But I came across multiple conversations where, UTSA is a legit hosting contender right now if their facilities provide, which they probably don't because they suck, but the team does not suck. And, yeah, it's nothing but good. And Scott mentioned, Mitch Hannes and USF, them too. I think they're looking okay, and they're going to keep getting better because Mitch Hannes is a great coach. So UTSA being not only a continued regional team, but a continued threat to win the American and a continued threat to be on that 1-2 line in seeding would be massive. And, what I'm about to say shows just how much our perception of ECU changed over this week. But it'll be nice to where you don't just go into conference play with your foot off the gas a little bit, because even if you stumble, ECU is probably going to win it. We saw it last year. UTSA was there, and ECU was not good last year, and UTSA ran away with it. And it'd be nice if they're in that mix every year, because ECU will get back, and they will be contending in the American, and it'll be nice to have someone pushing you, because I always think it's easier to fight for a title when you're actually fighting for it.
By the way, ECU will open conference play, looking way down the road here, March 20th against UAB, but the second weekend, March 27th through the 29th, the Pirates will be at UTSA. That could be a massive series early in league action. All right, guys, we'll see. Hopefully the conference continues to trend up because, last few years has not been great. Somebody did ask, do we miss playing UCF or Houston more? I don't really care. I guess UCF. I mean,
definitely UCF. Remember Houston? They would throw over like every other.
Oh yeah, that was annoying.
And that guy was this Todd Whiting.
Todd Whiting.
Yeah, he's still there. So I mean, I'm sure they're still doing.
Spencer Scott added the infield defense with Irby, Burris, Lashley, and Wallace has me really confident. And I mean, I thought Hawkeye plays a good second base too, so I don't have a problem with him there. Depending on what you want to do in left field. But I think that's going to be the alignment as long as everybody's healthy for a while.
What about when Peltier is healthy enough to play? Do you think he slots back in the outfield, or do you think we run what we have and then he comes in late as a runner?
That's a good question. I mean, a lot of it may depend on what the team is doing at the time. Right now, what have they gone? Kind of like a Vogely Whitaker platoon and left. Although Vogely did start, I guess both of them are in the lineup Sunday against a righty, but I don't hate that. Maybe it's just a who's hot situation. But definitely if you want to go defense, Peltier in the corner with Grady in center is pretty damn good.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because, if he does come back, then you mentioned Vogely in left field. I do think it's been kind of a platoon with him and Whitaker. And, neither of them are really great defensively, especially not late in games if you're in a tight game. And the difference could be a throw on a fly out to left with the runner tagging up from third. Who do you trust to make the throw? Not Davin Whitaker, probably. Probably not Jack Vogely. Haven't seen him throw a whole lot. But, Peltier, he can get to the balls. He can take the better route. So it's just flexibility. With him and Sabater, if you have, say, Vogely in the DH spot and you want to pinch run Sabater or Peltier, vice versa for him, then you still have the other to go in for, say, Jack Herring defensively late in the game, or Davin Whitaker, whoever's out there. So it's nothing but positive. You need as many bodies as you can get.
According to Cliff, it sounds like Peltier is close this week to being back. He took some infield out last week too, and then Boucher close as well. Could have pinch hit, so those two guys should help in the coming weeks. And I don't know, guys. I'm not ready to give up on Sabater yet. I think there's a role for him this year at some point. Like I kind of feel like a guy like him needs to play a lot to get into a rhythm with his style, but we'll see.
He just needs to stop staring at pitches straight down the middle on strike three, or he's not going to get the chance to play again.
That's fair enough. That is fair. All right. 4-game week ahead. Is anybody going to Fayetteville on Wednesday?
I was supposed to, and then I apparently didn't put it on the calendar. So that's on me.
You're screwed.
I'm no longer allowed to go.
Dude, you got to put it on the calendar, man. What are you doing?
So I put all the games on the calendar, all 56 after that.
ECU is taking on Charleston's Segra Stadium. I've heard mixed things on this being broadcast. Somebody told me it was. Somebody told me it was not. I'm still trying to get clarification as far as the TV side of things. Now, this is a 6 o'clock first pitch in Fayetteville on Wednesday. Charleston right now, they are 3-5. They just lost 2 out of 3 to South Alabama. They canceled their Monday game versus Air Force. They beat Coastal midweek, swept by Rutgers, and Rutgers will be in town for the Keith LeClaire Classic on Friday to face ECU. Then it'll be Troy Saturday, and it will be Western Carolina Sunday is the schedule. So Rutgers on the season at this point is 4-3 overall. Again, actually they won 3 out of 4 at Charleston, I should say. Did not sweep. That was a 4-game series. They lost 2 out of 3 to Virginia Tech. Rutgers did. So right now they are 4-3 on the season. They'll come in with some momentum. The Tuesday game versus St. Joe's, no surprise, has already been postponed because it's February 21st, 24th. Why are you trying to play a game at St. Joe's at this point in the season to begin with? And then you have Troy, who was a regional contender last year and a team that's expected to be pretty good again this year. I think Western's off to like a 5-2 start. So it's not the sexiest field, guys, but this is a sneaky good field. So predictions for the week ahead. Who wants to go first?
I'm ready. I'm going to start it off on a high note because ECU is going 4-0. Charleston, I think that's going to be a good midweek game, but I do think ECU is the better team. I think they're going to carry that momentum. I think you're going to see Nick Moran start. That's not inside information. That's just it's a bonus prediction, if you will. I think we see Nick Moran start. We see Brett Antolik. We see Ryan Towers. And after that, you kind of have everyone. You'd probably see Saccone again. So you're going to have all your guys available who you need. And hopefully you get through it. You don't need Jenkins. Save him for the weekend. But I like ECU's chances. I think they come out hot with the bats. And Friday, I think is going to be a tough game. And Rutgers, I know they lost 2 out of 3 to Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech's a pretty good team, at least I think so far. But Rutgers can put out some runs too, and they've done it on Fridays. So at least this past week against Virginia Tech, if I'm not mistaken, I think their big game was a blowout win against Virginia Tech on Friday. They scored double digits. So it wouldn't surprise me if that's a higher scoring game. I know that's not exactly what people might want to hear with the Norby talk, but I do think ECU, again, the bats will show up. Troy, first week, I don't think Troy was very good. So I like ECU's chances to beat Troy. And then Western Carolina, sneaky good team. But again, I think ECU's the better team. And I think this is going to be a statement week. ECU made a statement this week, but they went 2-2-1. So this is the week where they make a statement and the record backs it up. So ECU 4-0, and they really get this train moving in the right direction.
Troy last year 39-21, just missed the NCAA tournament. This year they are 3-4. They lost 2 out of 3 to Mercer, lost to Mississippi State midweek, and then beat Campbell 2 of 3. So there's your Troy update. Scott, what you got?
Yeah, I'll go 3-1. I think that Wednesday night game, I think Antolik will actually start. Maybe give you 2, and then Moran comes in after him. I think giving him more time to warm up makes a lot of sense, and be as comfortable as he can be as he goes into the game. And then Rutgers, they smoked Virginia Tech on Friday night. It's 16 runs they scored in 8 innings. But I do think Norby bounces back. I think we win that one. The revenge of the bubble teams from last year on Saturday with Troy. We already saw what one of last year's bubble teams that maybe didn't get in because ECU ran through the American Conference tournament did to us and Xavier. So I'll have us drop that one, and then I think we win against Western in the battle of the schools Leclerc actually coached on a Sunday. I think Weber is going to have a phenomenal outing this weekend. He's finally playing against a team that he can really overpower with his fastball, and I'm very excited to see that.
Yeah, I want to go 4-0. I just don't know if I can. I'm going 3-1. I just think this team still has a few things to figure out as far as bullpen roles. And, Weber and Van Kempen have been very good. Winshire and Norby pitches well this week. It's just hard to get all 3 starters going the same week. But I'm going 3-1. I do think ECU hopefully wins this midweek game. And the midweek game's always scary, especially at a neutral site. But I think they show up. Like Wag said, you should have all your pitching available. And even though Charleston beat Coastal in a midweek game recently, you would think that ECU has better talent on the mound. So I'm going midweek win and then 2-1 versus the Classic. I'm going to say win versus Rutgers, loss versus Troy, win versus Western. Some other predictions here. JPN has 4-0. Brandon Carr is making a bold prediction, undefeated and 10-plus home runs this week. Let's hope the wind is flying out for you, Brandon.
What do we have, 4 currently on the season? Something like that?
We have, 4 home runs compared to 11 given up. It's not a great ratio, but we'll see how it's still early. Chris adding 3-1. Weber goes 7 innings pitched, 0 earned runs on Sunday. Seatown Pirates says 3-0-1 on the week. Please no.
Lights out Fayetteville Wednesday night.
I can't do it again. Caleb going 3-1. He mentions that Xavier was swept by Arkansas, easily could have gone 2-0. Scott, I think you hit on that a little earlier. And John White added midweeks will be better as arms are not getting as abused on weekends. 4-0 this week. All right, bold predictions. Wags, you usually want to start it off, so let's begin with you.
Yeah, so I know Brandon Carr said his bold prediction is undefeated and 10-plus homers. I'm not quite going to that, but I am going along the same lines. I said ECU is going undefeated, and I kind of alluded to my bold prediction earlier, but Jack Vogeley and Colby Wallace hit the ball hard this past week. So I think both of them this week are going to hit their first home run of the season.
All right, I like it. Scott?
The first weekend of the year, I predicted 5 different guys to homer, and we still have yet to hit that. But I think somebody this week will have a multi-home run week. And if I had to pick a person, I'll pick Jack Aaron.
You know what? That was going to be my prediction. So good pick. I like that a lot. I'm going to go Ethan Norby bounces back 6 shutout innings on Friday night against Rutgers, leading them to a series or a weekend opening victory in the Keith LeClaire Classic. By the way, has anybody hit on any bowl predictions this year? I have not. I went walk-off on Friday night. Did not happen. And I went Alex Boucher home run over the weekend, which he hasn't even played yet. So not looking good.
I was close this weekend. I had 30 strikeouts, and we had 20 through the first 2 games. And then the third game, you only played half of it. And I think we had 3 at that point. So it wasn't trending in the right direction for me, but it was
not terrible.
Possible.
I have no idea what I had opening weekend, but this week I know I had Braden Bachman would hit a home run, and that didn't happen. So I'm going with some more power-proven bats this time around.
Bold predictions. They are bold for a reason. And I think if we had nailed it, any of them, we'd probably let you hear about it a little more. JPN says Peltier steals a base this week. That's his bold prediction. And Caleb says bold prediction of the week: at least one frequent hoisted colors poster is temporarily banned due to their comments in a baseball thread. Yeah, I saw your message earlier, Scott, in the mods thread. Is it time to take out some trash? What's going on?
Just stop yelling at each other. Just don't talk to each other
for no reason. Like, what are we doing?
I said, "Hey guys, leave each other alone." And you know what their responses were? Because I was about to say you're acting like children, and then they said, one of them said he started it, and then the other one was like, "Well, what these people are doing is worse." So that's the most middle school responses that you could have possibly given me. I don't know. Don't make me be a real moderator. That's for Tara Bill. That's not. Please don't make me do it.
This man's brain is already fried from his real life kids, and you're making him take care of kids on the message board too. What are we doing? By the way, subscribe to Hoist the Colors, 50% off. Appreciate you guys. It's time for us to get out of here. Special shout out again to A-Win in Florida, 8989 for your super chats. We appreciate you. I think soon enough, guys, you guys may be cashing a check off this YouTube monetary sharing process, and Wax can put it towards his computer.
I'm looking as we speak.
Every support counts. Really, seriously appreciate you. A-Win. We got to get out of here. We went a little late due to the late start. Appreciate everybody's comments, support. We'll be back on Monday, 9 o'clock Eastern, to recap the Keith LeClaire Classic. Hopefully no ties next week, please. And we'll do that. And check us out all the time on Hoist the Colors, 94.3 The Game as well, to get your fix in the meantime. All right, gentlemen, for Jonathan Wagner, for Scott Lohrbatcher, I'm Stephen Igo. This has been the Bucks on the Pond podcast. We are out.